Importance of agriculture in Indian economy. India is ranked second in the world in agriculture production. Agriculture and allied areas contributed to 16.5% of the Indian GDP gross domestic product in 2016. India is among top 3 nations producing many crops like cotton, wheat, tea, rice, sugarcane, pulses, peanuts, fruits and vegetables. Agriculture is a basic source of income and employment for most of the rural people in India. The agriculture sector engages over 50% of Indian workforce. About 2/3 rural population depends on agriculture. The contribution of agriculture to Indian economy has been consistently declining since independence, particularly in the last 30 years. Agriculture and rural development have been the most neglected areas in policy making of the government. The World Bank in its India Country Overview 2008 report expressed concern over pathetic situation of farmers and agriculture in India. Current agricultural practices are neither economical nor environmentally sustainable, and India's yield for many agricultural commodities are low. It is surprising that findings of this report is an echo of findings made by Ambedkar in his research paper, Small Holdings in India and Their Remedies, published 91 years before the World Bank report came out in 2008. Hence Ambedkar had a deep understanding of agricultural output and taxation. He knew about the poor economy of agricultural sector and the pathetic situation of farmers due to small land holdings. 10.3. Suppression of farmers in the colonial period. India's economy during the colonial period was primarily based on exports of agriculture products and revenue from agriculture land. The East India Company brought various regulations in the taxation system to get maximum revenue from agriculture. The land revenue system during the British rule, introduced by Warren Hastings, was based on the principle that all land belongs to the Crown. Due to its poor administrative system, the company was unable to directly collect revenue from farmers, but depended on local intermediaries. The government introduced 3 major intermediary systems for revenue collection from farmers: Zamindari in Bengal, Rautwari in Madras and Bombay, and Mahalwari in northwestern provinces. The entire agricultural land was under the state's ownership. Mediators Zamindar under Zamindari and Lambardar under Mahalwari collected revenue on behalf of the government. The British followed the time-bonded contract of revenue land and small holdings collection and assigned contract of revenue collection to the highest bidder. The bidding process suffered from overstipulation of revenue. Ultimately, farmers were forced to cultivate cash crops to meet the targets set in the bid. Zamindars were allowed to subcontract the land under their control. Thus the British introduced an agrarian hierarchy. People who were not directly involved in cultivation at the upper layers of this hierarchy were privileged and enjoyed big land holding, but farmers, who were the real producers of crops, become landless bonded laborers or tenant farmers. The British policy hurt the autonomy of village panchayats. The Mughal rule empowered village panchayats to resolve local land disputes, and the role of middlemen in the Mughal period was confined to collecting taxes. Thus middlemen could not use muscle power to collect taxes and force farmers to cultivate a specific crop. In the initial phase, when the British introduced the exploitative revenue system through zamindars and nambardars, the government faced opposition from local panchayats, which were dominated by farmers. Mediators could not succeed in overcharging land tax and force farming of crops which would earn maximum profit for the British. The local panchayat system defended interests of farmers. In case of disputes, forcible cultivation or evacuation of farmers due to non-payment of advance taxes, local panchayats favored farmers and provided relief to them. The British saw the panchayat system as being prejudiced and based on orthodox practices of Hinduism. The government snatched away the autonomy of panchayat system and empowered mediators to use force or evacuate farmers from land in case they failed to pay land taxes. The land revenue system introduced by the British resulted in accumulation of land with a few mediators. The mediators, holding most of the land, were non-cultivators, while the actual cultivators were reduced to tenants or agricultural laborers. Agriculture no longer provided food to people, but became a source of raw material to industry. Farmers raised their voice against exploitation by zamindars and the British government. Initially these upspring were local and unorganized. Later political parties, realizing the political strength of farmers, joined their cause. Uprisings were organized and spread to large areas. The news of the exploitation of Indian farmers by British spread far and wide. Although farmers' movements during the British rule could not succeed in achieving their most pressing needs, the government was compelled to relax land tax and dilute the autocracy of zamindar. These movements also helped in overcoming the communal divide between Hindu and Muslim. Farmers of both communities joined hand to eradicate repressive practices of the British.